Hello, my name is Corrina Cory and I'm a gold standard project-based learning practitioner, soon to be coach as of June this year. I'm a senior lecturer in engineering and entrepreneurship and strategic curriculum development lead for engineering. I'm really excited to talk today at the conference on education, design and practice. And I'm going to talk to you today about gold standard project-based learning and Entrecomp, combining those things to create a new methodology for designing entrepreneurship modules in the University of Exeter. So I'm going to talk today about the module that I set up as kind of an action research experience and learn from that, so we could put it towards developing our new entire engineering program. So this is kind of like a pilot module. And I'm going to talk about the challenges and achievements that I've experienced during that, so other people can hopefully learn from my mistakes as I am doing currently. So Gold Standard Project-Based Learning then was developed by PBL Works. It used to be the Buck Institute of Education. They've rebranded as PBL Works. And Entrecomp has been developed by the European Commission. I'll talk to you a bit more in a bit more detail about these later on in the talk. So PBL Works is a non-profit educational organisation, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very keen to use their work, because their only interest is in furthering education and especially developing high quality project-based learning, which I'm also very keen on. So this is the main gold standard project-based learning elements. The first one is the challenging problem or question. And I've found in my experience in this module and previous modules that this exploration of this really open-ended driving question really helps students with creativity, which is obviously very essential in engineering, especially with all of the research on Industry 4.0 and the skills that are going to be required from graduates in that during that period of time, currently and in future. And it also works very well for differentiation, so the high ability students can go off and get on with the work that they want to do, and the lower ability students can come to more of the project-based learning support sessions that we put on. It's a very active path of investigation, this sustained inquiry over a long period of time, and students really enjoy that type of learning. It is an industry-linked project, or the one that I've done is an industry-linked project, and most of the time in engineering, this is something that we strive to do to give it that real-world relevance, and this really helps with engagement and really inspires students, as I'll show later on. During Gold Standard Project-Based Learning, students find their own resources. This is absolutely key. We try not to front load students with too much information, so they can go off and find their own paths as teams. And we found that this really helps to create really unique solutions. And we had 26 groups and only 2 were in the same subject area. So it really shows that this type of learning works really well for creativity and helping students with student voice and choice. And this really helps to deepen learning as well. Obviously, in education, reflection is extremely important for students to look at the things that they've struggled with and their achievements, and this really helps to consolidate their learning when they have that time to reflect. And peer self and lecture assessment, obviously absolutely key, but this is integral in PBL, Gold Standard PBL, and it has to be part of the project planning and one of the essential project elements. And this really helps with continuous improvement. So there's this feedback loop all the time, where students are getting feedback and they're improving their work and then continuously moving along with that. And the feedback is usually quite quick as well. It's like an instant thing. So assessment is public, and this raises the quality. So students have to stand by their work and present it. And there are lots of different methods to do this, which really helps students to engage with technology and develop these really important multimedia skills that are really useful for Industry 4.0 for engineering students and, well, all students. And the 21st century skills that we all know are extremely important in education: critical thinking, problem solving, leadership, and there are many more. Collaboration is highlighted because it's one of our values at the University of Exeter, and obviously self-management is very important, and obviously teamwork, and those things are expanded on later on in my talk. So Entrecomp was developed by the European Commission, as I said previously, and this draws out those entrepreneurial competencies that I'm really focused on in this module in particular, but we're trying to use this experience to push this entrepreneurial USP throughout our entire engineering program, because we think these skills are super important for students in Industry 4.0. And there are 3 main competence areas, so interaction, ideas and opportunities and resources, and then this is subdivided into 15 competencies. And the OntreComp documents that are available online have a huge amount of detail that they go into with this and how you apply it, so I won't go into too much detail with that now. So this is the module that I developed, and these are the steps for designing a project. So there is a document which is in my bibliography which shows really nicely the steps of designing a PBL project, and I've just kind of put them into sub areas that I think make more sense with my project. So the first one then is your project idea. So for me, this came from my previous experience and contacts, and also we managed to get hold of some VR equipment which I really wanted to bring into the module, but these projects can come from lots of different areas like student problems or community problems or global issues. So the standards is the next thing. You need to align with standards. We use our AHEP ILOs, which are related to the UK spec for chartership in engineering, and also, as I've mentioned before, entrepreneurship competencies, which is EntreComp. And this is really nice because it allows our first years to start off at the foundation level, where they're kind of discovering and exploring ideas, which is the entrepreneurship 1. But we've also got an entrepreneurship 2 module, which will be running next year, which is where they go into more practical applications and prototyping and making. And so that's experiment and dare. So our driving question was, how can you apply laser scanning technology to create a new product, service or process? And this was more open-ended because I wanted them to focus on the technology inside the scanner, and it allowed us to explore areas like robotics and autonomous vehicles as well as the standard ones. So the next step is those 3 activities there. So the first one is activities. We had an engaging project launch, which is part of one of the essential parts of gold standard project-based learning. And we had people from industry come in, an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. We looked at 3D modeling, 3D printing, and technical skills workshops. These involved students working on lathes and milling machines, making a part for a LiDAR scanner, a plumb bob, and they also were undertaking electronics, where they designed a mini LiDAR scanner. And we had innovation workshops from our alumni who came in and explained their experience in innovation, what they did that was innovative, and then they allowed students to use their methods and try them out and apply them to their project. We also brought in some of our colleagues from employability to help students develop their own LinkedIn page and get ready for their careers, and this involved self-promotion and networking. So the next thing was our engaging launch, and this really was an amazing day. It was very, very busy. We had people coming in talking about LiDAR scanners, all the technical things, the differences between the different LiDAR scanners. This is Anne-Harrod Matthews, and then we had Nick Russell, who talked a bit more in detail about LiDAR, building information modeling, how you can import all of that into VR and show your clients around buildings and all that exciting aspect of his work, and also his experience as an entrepreneur, which the students absolutely loved, and tips for successful entrepreneurship. So this worked really well, and we had students looking at things on site. So we had demonstrations of the LiDAR scanners. They were scanning things that were actually on site, which was amazing, and talking to the entrepreneur, talking to the technical experts, using the equipment. And this really broke down barriers, and this kind of flat hierarchy was absolutely amazing compared to a normal lecture. And the students really enjoyed it. They had so much fun. They all told me they thought it was absolutely awesome, and they loved engaging with the equipment. And then they really started to make links between the LiDAR scan data and the virtual reality side of things, because they were looking at Google Earth VR, and you know, they were making connections at this point already for their projects. So the next thing is that we decide our major project, so a major product, or performance, and how they will be made public. So we had a formative assessment where they created a storyboard, because their final summative assessment was a video, and they had to plan out every single scene, every camera angle, and really think about how they were going to construct this video. They need to be thinking about marketing, commercialization of their ideas, and they had peer feedback. We had people from the business school and our business support department come in, and this cross-discipline feedback was amazing because they were getting information back on technical things from the engineers and the feedback from the business school and people who actually work with startup companies to give them feedback. So they had this formative assessment sheet, and the people who were giving them the assessments would highlight the areas that they thought that they were currently working in, and then the gaps obviously showed where they could move up to the meets or exceeds criteria. And they were told after this to try and create one more storyboard to work on these areas that they were kind of needed to go up higher if they want to before they film their video. And so this is an example of one of the videos, and it's very relevant because obviously Notre Dame Cathedral burnt down around this time, and actually I found out that a historian had actually LiDAR scanned the entire building, and this was going to be used for the reconstruction. So this is very topical.
If you could travel through time, where would you go? Which cultures would you experience? What would you protect for future generations? From birth, our curiosity drives us to deepen our understanding of the world around us. But with constant drive forward, it is easy to neglect the rich history that has led us to where we are today. Here at Archive Live, we understand the importance of our past. We are operating at the forefront of laser scanning technology, and using a single LiDAR scanner, we are able to capture precise 3D models of artifacts, monuments, and archaeological sites, leading the way into the age of digital conservation. The scanner works by sending out pulses of light and timing how long these pulses take to return after reflecting off of the surrounding environment. As it sweeps around, it calculates the distance each pulse has traveled, building up a 3D visualization known as a point cloud. By manipulating this data, we can provide detailed photogrammetry for surveying and conservation, photorealistic renders, and immersive VR experiences. We sell globally to museums, governments, and collectors, people who want to see the preservation of sites which would otherwise be lost to time. The launch of the Archive Live app will allow people from around the world to have free access to educational content, wherever, whenever. We strongly believe that in this age of data sharing, the digitization of cultural heritage will allow a wide-reaching audience to enjoy and learn about the beauty of the world that we live in. For future, for education, for everyone.
Okay, so that was obviously an achievement because that was a great piece of work from students, and they told me that they'd used 60 to 70 sources in that because I could see it had been really well researched, which is great. So it shows how deep their learning has gone and how many resources they're finding on their own in that process. So one of our values in the University of Exeter is that we relish, challenge and reach for the previously unachievable, and this is what I always go back to when I'm finding things difficult, is that I always try and remember that challenge is actually a very positive thing and we're trying to change things, so that's great. But these challenges came from accelerate feedback from the students, and also had a feedback lecture, and just from my general experience during the module. Timetabling was obviously a bit of a challenge because we had a lot of students and small group activities, and the solutions always come from the support network that I have around me at the university. I'm very lucky, there's a lot of people to help. So timetabling actually used experience from timetabling medical project-based learning, and they timetabled this module before everything else in the engineering program. So everything fits in around it because of the amount of activities. Some students said they found it quite hard to build team bonds because they're first years. So we're going to create outdoor team building sessions for them really early on in the process. So all of these things are students giving me feedback and me responding to them as we go through this process. So they really feel part of the module, and they're going to be in the second year when they see the first years go through it. So they'll see the changes that we've made according to their feedback, which is really important. Some students said that they felt a bit too shy to post on our VLE forum. So we're going to get our entrepreneurial residents to come in and talk about the Slack collaboration app during the project launch, which is a bit less formal than the VLE, and hopefully will encourage students to get involved in some discussions a bit more. This is a massive change in teaching and learning style, and students really need some time to get used to this blended learning, a lot more independence than they used to in school. And we need to timetable extra PBL group support sessions, which we did. The students asked us about during the module, and this really helped to build confidence in year one. And some students said, what's the point of entrepreneurship and all of this multimedia assessment? I want to be an engineer. And what I really need to do is talk to them more about Industry 4.0 and how things are changing and how they need to adapt and build different types of skills, entrepreneurial skills, to add that real kind of human aspect to their work in future. So achievements then, I use this enterprise and entrepreneurship education document to build up a checklist just to make sure that I was hitting the criteria that I needed to. And there were certain things that I picked out. So students need a little bit more support on how to produce their videos. And most of them did fine, but some of them just need a bit more help. And some of the cross-disciplinary feedback wasn't as technical as it could have been, so I'm going to change that next time. And the teamwork and peer review, I've had some best practice from another university where they talk about an equity share method, so I'm looking into that. But obviously you can see that most of the things are either in progress or already achieved. And I'm going to work harder to make a good link between the storyboarding and the video summative assessment document. So they're building up this kind of portfolio of competencies. And the feedback from the students themselves, some of them said they found them so fascinating they're going to pursue a career, the LiDAR scanners. The students, some of them really got that they had this kind of freedom to approach the ideas, their own ideas, and move them forward. And they felt that they had enough structure in the course that they knew what their objective was, but it was not so structured so that they could find their own path and make their own decisions, which I really liked. One student said that I had a gold mine, which is always a great thing to hear. And I really enjoy comments like that from students. And another student said, that he or she had the time of their life. So this is great, really good feedback from Accelerate. I just want to say thank you to all of the support that I had at the university. This was really a team effort. I had so much help from our postgraduate teaching assistants, other academic colleagues from different disciplines. We had industry experts coming in, helping us out, are really keen to help. Our technicians were absolutely incredible all the way through this, and I literally couldn't have done all of this without their support. Student support, learning spaces, academic development, and IIB and our timetabling team have been amazing, and our C's department are helping us develop the team building and the project management type of things within the module. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone who helped during this module and will be helping next year as well. There's a bibliography, so I'm going to leave that on hold for a few seconds so people can try and find the references, some of the references that I've used for this talk that they might find useful. And thank you very much for listening.